Oh, hey, Tony. Can you say hello?
All right, ready? Hello.
Hey, Tony.
Hello.
This is the third time I've done this lesson today. It is like 4:30 and I'm ready to scream. I think I can get the lesson down to under 5 minutes though, because I've done it so many times. I think also I can do it on one page. So ethers are a group of organic compounds that have an O in the center. So this is an example of an ether. It's not an OH, it's an O by itself. Note that, remember, oxygen only needs 2 bonds to be happy. So that is an ether. When you see ethers drawn, they can draw them R, O, R primed. That simply means the R and the R primed represent different numbering of carbons. So for example, you could have this, oops, well, you wouldn't know I've done this 3 times today. You could have this. In that case, the R's would be the same, or you could have this. In that case, R would represent a methyl group and R primed would represent an ethyl group. The groups off the side can be the same or they can be different. When you name it, you just list the names of the groups coming off the oxygen alphabetically. This would be dimethyl ether. This is a meth. This is an F. This would be ethyl methyl ether. That's almost all there is to naming ethers. We don't do a whole lot with ethers. Just like when we were talking about benzenes, and say you had some big nasty compound with, a double bond and a double bond here, and I don't know, phenyl group there, and phenyl group there, and you didn't really know what you wanted to name this. If you saw this and you weren't sure, you couldn't name it as an ether because you'd be like, okay, that's great. This is an ethyl group, but what in the world would you name this? You can use the cheating method. Remember, 2 carbons in a row would represent an F group. Now it's not 2 carbons joined to the parent chain, it's 2 carbons and an oxygen. So this group becomes an F-oxy group. The way that this is drawn, let's just pretend I'm labeling this way, 1, 2, 3. You'd actually call that a 3-F-oxy. If you had some crazy compound, I don't know, making this up, and you had OCH3. Remember, there's a CH3 there. You didn't know how to name that. You would cheat and you would say, fine, that represents 1 carbon, which is meth, but it's not just a methyl group attached to a parent chain, it's a methyl group, then an oxygen, so that would be a meth-oxy group. Okay, that's it for ethers. Next one is aldehydes. Aldehydes are something that are compounds that end with a double bond O at an H at the end of the compound. So again, be careful you're not just putting your extra tick in there because you get so used to putting ticks all around the carbon. Just always, make sure that you've only got 4 bonds around the carbon. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Carbon always gets priority because it is the reason it is an aldehyde. So you're simply counting the number of carbons. That would be a butanal. You don't need to say 1 butanal because the definition of an aldehyde is on the end. Therefore, that's redundant to say 1 butanal. So if I gave you something that had 5 carbons, let's put my double bond O there again. And I put a chloro here. This is easy to name. First of all, you'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's an aldehyde, so that would be a pentanal. This is carbon 1. It has priority. So 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 4th carbon, you have a 4-chloropentanal. The last example would be if you had something like this. Oops. There we go. Now I have an aldehyde functional group on this side and an aldehyde functional group on that side. It's got 3 in the center, so it's a prop And now it's not one aldehyde, it's two, so it's a propanediol. That's all there is for naming aldehydes. And last but not least for today is ketones. And ketones, some people don't even consider them their own group of organic compounds, because a ketone is just a double bond O within the compound. So it's kind of like an aldehyde, but just not at the end. Again, be careful you don't stick in extra hydrogen there. So again, the C double bond O, the carbonyl group is given priority. So you would name this. It's got 4 carbons, so it's a butan, and it's a 2-butanone. So ketone ends with -one, aldehydes ends with -al. So let's see other examples. Let's take a look at here. If I have 5 in a row, let's stick the double bond here. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a pentanone. Where is the double bond? It's on the 2. So you could say 2-pentanone or penta-2-one. Either or is fine. Let's then just stick a BR on here. This gets priority because it's in the lowest position. So these are actually easier to name than some of the alkyl halides where you have to decide which way to order, which way to number it. But here, this has got the lowest numbering, so it has a priority. Therefore, this would be a 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be a 4-bromo 2-pentanone. If I had a Cl there, then you would go back to our other way of naming. You'd say, I've got a 4-bromo, a 3-chloro, and a 2-pentanone, and they would go alphabetically. B comes before C, so that would be 4-bromo, 3-chloro, 2-pentanone. And last thing, I promise, this is the last one. If I give you, let's see, this, put a double bond there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something on the 2, something on the 4, that's a 2,4-pentadione, so it's still a ketone. How many of them are there? 2. Where are they? In the 2 and the 4 position. Alternatively, you could say penta-2,4-dione. Okay, that's it. I'm done.